welcome to the TheForge tutorials Maya Masterclass. In today's video, we are going to discuss the viewports and how to set up a project in Maya properly. So let's start the lesson. When you start working on a new scene, it is really beneficial for you to set up a project. So if more than one person is working on that project, it is really easy for them to pick up where you left off, or you to switch from one system to another without losing your data. So let's see how to set up a project. So the first thing you want to do is go to the file menu. Here you can find the options to go to the project window or set a project. When you're starting a new scene, you want to go to the project window, and when you click on it, this dialog box will appear. And when you click on the new scene, it will ask you for the directory where you want to create your project and give it a name. And when you do that, it will set up a project automatically. Right now we don't want to do that because I already have a project set up for this lesson. So if you already have a project and you want to open that project, go to your set project and go to your project location and select the project folder and click on set. Now your project is set. Now when you try to open a file, it will automatically go to your scenes folder where your scene files are saved. Click on your scene and click on open, and it's going to open your project. So setting up a project is really simple, and it is really good practice to set up a project when you start working on a scene. So let's move on to our viewports. So the first option we see in our viewport is the view option. In the view option, you can select a camera, lock a camera. You can also create camera from view. You can cycle through cameras, and you can undo and redo your view changes. After that, you have your shading menu. In the shading menu, you will find options to change how the object in your viewport is shaded. For example, if you go to wireframe mode, our object will turn into wireframe mode. And if you go to smooth shade all, it will smooth shade our object and it will look like this. You can also flat shade, and you can choose the bounding box option from the shading menu. If you have a really complex scene, you can turn on the bounding box option and then save the scene. So when you open the scene next time, it will open a little bit faster. So that's a really handy thing when you're working on large projects. After that, you have your wireframe on shaded. It will put the wireframe on top of the shaded object. And after that, you have your X-ray options. In this, you will be able to see through your mesh. And after that, we have our lighting menu. In the lighting menu, you can choose to use default light or use all lights in your scene, which we don't have any. Let's turn the X-ray and wireframe on shaded off. So right now we don't have any lights on our scene. That's why the object is black. We can also use selected lights, or you can choose flat lighting. We're going to go back to the default light for now. And after that, you have your show menu. In here, you can select what you want to be displayed inside the viewport. For example, if you don't want to see any polygons, we can just uncheck the polygon option and all the polygons in here will disappear. We can also select the grid from here, and that will make the grid disappear. I'm going to turn both of those on. And after that, you have your renderer menu. In here, you can go to the preferences for the viewport. If you want to change anything, you can change that from here also. I'm going to close that for right now. And after that, you have your panels. Inside the panels, you can select the view for your viewport. If you want to go to the top menu, we can go to the orthographic and select the top side, and it will show us the top side of the object. And when we choose the orthographic view, it also restricts us in two axes. Now we cannot use the Y axis here because now we are in the top menu. Only X and Z axis are available to us. So if you want to move any object, you can only move it in X and Z. You cannot move it up and down. Let's undo that. For undo, you can also use Ctrl Z, and to increase the size of the pivot or decrease it, you can just simply press the plus or minus key. I'm going to go back to the perspective, and below the menu bar you have shortcuts for your viewport, just as we had on the below the menu bar. The first thing on the shortcut bar is your select camera option, and after that you have your lock camera option. If you have your camera set up and you don't want to move it accidentally, you can just click on this button and you won't be able to move your camera anymore. And after that, you have camera attributes, which will open the camera properties in the attribute editor. I'm going to close that for right now. And after that, you have your bookmarks. Now in bookmarks, you can bookmark the position of the camera. If you don't want to lock the camera, just click on the bookmark. Now the position in which we are right now is bookmarked. So if we move our camera, let's say like this, and we go to the bookmarks, right click on it and select the point we saved on, which is camera view 1. It's going to snap us back to the position in which we bookmarked the camera. And after that you have your reference panel. Here you can select to set up reference, and it will automatically set up a reference plane with the image that you have selected. And after that you have your 2D pan and zoom and your grease pencil. If you want to make notes on a particular keyframe, you can do that with a grease pencil. I'm going to delete that. And after that you have your button to show and hide grid. By clicking this you can show or hide the grid. And after that you have your film gate and your resolution gate. This is going to show you the final area that's going to be rendered when you render your final image. Let's turn that off. And after that you have your field chart, save action, and save text grid. And after that you have these buttons. Now these are really helpful. If you click on the first one, it will show you the wireframe option, just as we saw in the shading menu. The next button will smooth shade all. And after that you have your texture on and off. And after that this button will temporarily apply a default material to every object in your scene. And after that you have your wireframe unshaded. And after that you have your texture on and off. If you turn on this button, if you have any texture in your scene, it will make that visible. And after that you have your light button. If you click on it, it will turn on the use all lights option. And currently we don't have any lights in our scene. When we turn it off, it's going to use the default lights. And after that you have a button to turn the shadows on or off in your viewport. Now all of these options don't affect your rendering, it just affects how your object looks in the viewport. And if you don't want to put too much stress on your viewport, keep the shadows off until you need it. And after that you have your ambient occlusion. Let's zoom in a bit. Now when you turn on the ambient occlusion, you can see we get these smooth shadows. Now these are context shadows. When we turn the ambient occlusion on, it will display the context shadows as well. Now I'm going to keep that off as well. And after that you have a shortcut to turn the motion blur on. And with this button you can turn on the multi-sample anti-aliasing, which you can see down here. Right now we are seeing these jagged edges. If we turn the anti-aliasing on, it will smooth the edges. We're going to keep this option off as well. And after that you have a button to enable depth of field, which we don't need right now. And after that you have an option to isolate selected. So for example, if we select this tree and click on the isolate selected, it will isolate the part that we have selected. And if we uncheck that, it's going to bring everything back. So after that you have your extra options, just as we discussed in the shading menu. And this is your exposure control. If you want to change the exposure value of your viewport or the gamma value of your viewport, you can do that from here. Now if you go back to our 4-panel view, you can see that every viewport has these options available. Now all these options are independent to each viewport. That means you can change the options in a particular viewport and the others will stay the same. This comes in really handy because we want to keep our top, front and side usually in the wireframe mode, or if you want to change the settings in any viewport, you can do that independently without affecting the other ones. So let's go back to our perspective window. And I think this is it for this video. In the next video, we're going to discuss how to navigate within the viewport and how to use the hotbox properly. So if you like this video, subscribe to the channel, drop a like and leave a comment. And if you want to buy some cool merch and support me directly, link to my merch store and my Patreon is in the description. So I'll see you in the next video.